Hey everybody, welcome to today's second lecture for mobile computing, and this one's on the Android alternative. So I'm gonna do this in a similar way to how I did the one for Android Studio. I'm just gonna freestyle coding and see where it goes. But for the Android alternative, there's a few things that I need to get out of the way in terms of setup. So the first thing is you can get the Android alternative at courses.ms.wits.ac.za/software, and you'll have to download the Android alternative zip, and you'll have to download the OpenJDK zip. You may already have installed Java, in which case, great. Eclipse as well, and again, what we want is the Java Eclipse, not the C++ one, unless you're going to be coding C++ stuff, and in which case, go for it. But we want the Java one. Okay, so if you've downloaded the Android alternative and you've downloaded Java, they'll be sitting in your downloads folder. So one thing I just have to caution you on is when you are installing Java by going through the setup, by default, it doesn't set this Java home variable. So by default, the installation looks like this. So if that happened to you, just run the installer again and change this to be installed, right? And then when it is installed, that means now that Java home variable will be set. Okay. So like I say, you may have to just double click here again and go through the process again, click change, and make sure that this feature is enabled. Okay. This is important for the Android alternative. The other thing is then you've got this Android alternative v3.zip and you can extract it somewhere. My preference is put it in a folder without spaces because spaces tend to mess things up. So maybe I'm going to put it in C colon backslash, or let's make a folder here called, I don't know, Android or something. Call it anything you like, it doesn't matter. But something without spaces, of course. And then we'll just extract the files here, and it'll make an app folder. Okay. Now this app folder contains an example project as well as the Android alternative. And when you want to make another project, the easiest thing is to just copy this app folder, right? So then you'll end up with another folder that's identical to this one. To set it up, the first thing you have to do is double click on the setup libs.bat. Okay. If your username, so if you go to C colon backslash users, you'll see my username is Ilip. Don't ask. But if your username has a space in it, then you'll have to download v3 of the Android alternative. This is v2. Okay, this will be updated to v3 when I'm done with this lecture. And you'll have to download v3. If you don't have a space in your username, then it's fine. You don't need to download v3. The only change was to make it allow spaces in the username. So if I go back to the C colon Android app, the first thing I need to do is run setup libs, which is gonna just run a whole wall of text past you. Basically, what this is doing is installing all the dependencies that this project has. So it's just gonna copy it to your home folder, and then you can run compile, which should just do a similar thing. Just run, put a wall of text there, and then call run. Now, when you run this run.bat, or if you're in Linux, just run, then it's gonna run the Android alternative, and it won't terminate, right? So it's gonna run a web server, and that web server is just gonna be sitting there waiting. So you see, it says started Jetty server. Okay. And if you want to access it, you can go in your web browser in Chrome. You can go to 127.0.0.1 colon 8080. Right? And this is now your Android app. You can see all there is a back button. There's no actual app there because we haven't really created anything. Okay. Now the code for the app is sitting in the source folder, and it's in source main Java convits app. Okay, and there's a main activity which has pretty much nothing in it, but there is an activity. Okay, so I could edit this file in something like Notepad or Visual Studio Code, but it's going to be much easier to edit it in Eclipse. So I'm going to open Eclipse. If you've had trouble setting up Eclipse, feel free to private message me on Discord, and I'll help where I can. So I'm going to open just my normal Eclipse workspace, and that's going to give me my projects in a similar way to how Android Studio does. I've got some other code in here which you can kind of ignore. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go File, Import, because I want to get that project from that I just created, that app project, into here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type Maven and select existing Maven projects. So that's going to import an existing project that uses the Maven project management system, which this thing does. I'm going to browse, and I'm going to go to where I installed it, which was on this PC, C drive, Android app. Okay, I'm going to say select folder and finish. Okay, so that's going to make the folders for it, and you'll see it now says importing Maven projects, and only when it's done can I actually start editing. It shouldn't take a ridiculous amount of time, so we'll let it go. But I can already open the code, and this is basically the code for the app, right? So you can see it kind of looks similar to the Android code. I've got my set content view, but if you remember from the Android lecture, when I set content view there, I said something like r.layout.activity main, and it went and got it from an XML file. Now the Android alternative doesn't support XML. So what that means is I've got to make the layouts manually. In this case, I made a linear layout called content, and I set its orientation to vertical, and then I set the content view to that linear layout. Now this would work if you pasted this into Android Studio, it would still work, right? So this is valid Android code. The only difference is that we're not allowed to use XML in the Android alternative because I haven't coded any infrastructure to support it, okay? But what that means is that I then have to create any views I want to create. I have to make them manually. So let's say I wanted to put a text view on the screen the same way I did in Android Studio. I could say text view t equals new text view this. So that'll create a new text view that's bound to this activity. Okay, and then I want to add it to my content view. So I'm say content.add view t. Okay, because content was my linear layout, and I'm putting this text view inside that linear layout. Okay, and let's give it some text so that we can actually see it. Let's say t.setText. Welcome to this demonstration. Okay, and when I've made changes, Eclipse will automatically compile the project. So I can go back to the page I had open, and I can just reload it. And when I do, I've now got a text view here that says, welcome to this demonstration. Okay, I'm going to make it small and put Eclipse here the same way I did for Android Studio. And the cool thing is that now, I mean, if I just coded that rock, paper, scissors app here, it would work fine. Okay. So let's say I wanted an edit text. I could say edit text, name text equals new edit text. This, so you'll see now I'm not using find view by ID to go and get the edit text from the XML file, because there isn't an XML file. I have to make the edit text in code. But it's not really harder than it was in making it in XML, right? It's the same thing. Now you'll see this edit text is underlined. So I could click on this message here and it'll tell me what sort of things I can do. But in this case, I know that what I need to do is import the class. So I can press Control-Shift-O to import it. So you can see now imported android.widget.edit text. And then, so maybe I want to say t.add_view, not t is a text view, so that's not going to work. Content.add_view name text. And if I save, it'll automatically compile. And if I reload in the web browser, I'll get an edit text here. So I could put my name. Okay. So you'll see that, I mean, basically that's like working like we did in Android, but it uses a lot less resources. But some of the stuff that exists in Android just won't work. So I'm not sure if hints work. I can't remember what I've coded and what I haven't, but let's see. Hints do work. So you can say enter your name, Pravesh, that sort of thing. If I wanted to, let's say, I mean, a common thing to do is to put a text view next to the edit text, right? So I could say text view text view label or name label equals new text view this, and then name label dot set text. Anytime I want to autocomplete, I just press Control space or Alt space depending on where I am in Control space. So then name label. Okay, so I've got a name label, and then I could say content dot add view name label. Okay, so now notice I'm not clicking the run button. Eclipse is just automatically updating the run. So it says name, and then it's got enter your name. Okay. And similarly, let's say I wanted to put these next to each other instead of one below the other. This linear layout is vertical, so I'll need to make a new linear layout. So I can say linear layout name layout equals new linear layout. That's linear layout this name layout dot set orientation linear layout dot horizontal. And then instead of adding these two things to content, I'm going to add them to name layout. And then I'm going to add name layout to content. Okay, so basically what I did was I made a linear layout. I put the text view and the edit text inside that linear layout. And then I put that linear layout inside the main linear layout. So now I've got name and enter your name stuff, right? And it's okay. I don't know if that made too much sense, but I hope it did. Then let's say I want to have a button on the end, so I can say button okay equals new button this, and then I'll have to import. So Control-Shift-O, and it asks me which button I want to import. It's android.widget.button, and then I'll say okay, that's set text submit or something, I don't know, and then content.add view. Okay. And I can reload here. Sometimes I have to reload many times while the thing compiles, but so now I can put my name and I can say submit. Okay. Let's do something stupid. Let's do like a thing that tells me what year I was born in, as if I want to be reminded of that. And so what we can do is I'm just going to copy everything related to name so that I can make one for age. So let's say age layout and age label. Okay, I should do a search replace. Okay, let's do a search replace here. I pressed Control F to do a search, and I'm changing name to age, and I'm replacing all. So everything here now relates to age. I'll just change this to a capital. And if I reload here, a number of times, it now asks me for my name and for my age. When I submit, it does nothing. Okay. Now what I'd like to do is, when I click OK, I want it to actually display my age. So say OK.set onClickListener, new view.onClickListener, and here I can maybe say text view text view out equals new text view this, and then content.add view out. And okay, so I can't say this because now I'm in the onClick list and I'm not in the main activity. So I have to say main activity.this, meaning get me the activity. Okay. And then here I'm going to say, okay, first I need to calculate my age. So I'm going to say calendar C equals new Gregorian calendar. Yeah, this is Java's weird date class, but I can make a new calendar, and then I can say int year equals c dot get calendar dot year, and that should get me the current year. Okay. Then if I want to know what year I was born in, I can say int year of birth equals year minus, and now I want to get the value of the age text. So age text dot get text dot to string, but I'm gonna have to convert it to being an integer. So I'm gonna say integer dot parse int age text dot get text dot to string, and then out dot set text okay, let's get the name. So name text dot get text dot to string. So basically get me the text from this box, plus was born in plus year of birth. Okay, and then when this thing is finished compiling, I can put in my name as Pravesh and my age is 42, and we say submit. It says Pravesh was born in 1979. Now, because I added a new text view, if I click again, it's gonna, so let's say I said, well, right, it's gonna change. Richard, I don't know how old Richard is, 31, I don't know. I'm making that up. So Richard was born in 1990. That's a long way after 1979. But anyway, that allowed us to sort of operate, on the arguments, so I could set an on-click listener, I could do whatever I want. If I wanted to do this in a similar way to how I did it on Android, I could make a method like public void on select. Do you remember that? We had that on select view v, and I could put the code in there, right? And that would be fine. I could do that, and then over here I could just call on select with the argument that came back, right? So I could kind of separate things out the way they are in Android, but I'm fine with having it in here. And you can use all sorts of different items. Let's say I made a spinner. This is a complicated one. Let's say spinner s equals new spinner this. Now a spinner has got items in it, and those items have to be in something called an array adapter, I think. So if we say array adapter of string spinner adapter equals new array adapter of string r dot layout dot support simple spinner drop down item. Okay, this is the same sort of thing you'd have to do in Android, but basically you make an array adapter, and it should what have I done wrong? Oh, activity. Okay, so I need to also give it a link to the activity itself. So I need to say this. You saw I could figure that out by just hovering my mouse over here, and it told me, well, actually this thing wants an activity and a layout, and I had only given it a layout. So I was like, okay, well, I need to give it an activity, so I'll give it this because this is an activity. Then I could say spinner adapter dot add, and maybe I don't know, what might we want to pick from a drop down, or good, bad, and ugly. Then we could say s.set adapter spinner adapter, right? So basically what I'm doing here is I'm creating a collection. That's this array adapter, and it's got some items in it. And then I'm saying the spinner should use this collection as its collection of items. Okay, and then I'm going to add this spinner to the content view, but I'll do it before the OK button because otherwise it's going to look a little weird. Okay, and now it says Pravesh and 42 and good, bad, and ugly. So was born in year of birth and is, and then I'm going to put the spinner, which was s dot get selected item. Okay, so now if I reload Pravesh 42 and submit, it says Pravesh was born in 1979 and is good because this computer does not lie. So anyway, the Android alternative exists, and you can use it if you find that Android is too slow, to the point of being unusable on your machine. It is a bit harder to use because you don't have the drag and drop stuff, but not much harder. It's not that much harder to just add the items to the layout manually, as I've done in this video. And you can set your on-click listeners and whatever. And all of this code, if I just pasted it into Android Studio, it would work as an Android app as well. Okay. If you ran this on a web server, then people could actually go to your website and interact with the system in the same way. Okay. So I think the biggest difficulty with the Android alternative is just setting it up in the first place. So if you are having trouble, let me know and I'll happily help you out. One aside about Gregorian calendar. So, I mean, this was a bit of a weird class to work on. You may think, why didn't I just use the date class? I could say date d equals new date, and that would get me a date object to work on. The problem is that the date class in Java is really bad. And because Java is intended to be backward compatible, it means you can't fix it, right? Because if you change how it works, old programs will just stop working. But let's say I wanted to make a date object that was like on the 1st of February 2020 or something. I'd say 1 because that's the day, right? So if you look at date, it takes in well, there's a bunch of constructors, but one of them takes in like a year, a month, and a day. So it's year, month, and date, right? But look at the year. The year is defined as the year, the difference between the current year and 1900. So if I wanted 2021, I'd have to say 121, which is kind of crazy. Um, the month is zero indexed, right? So it's from 0 to 11. So if I wanted February, I'd say 1. It's kind of insane. Nobody picks 1 for February. It's 2, right? Nobody picks 121. But if I wanted the 1st of February, I wouldn't say 2, or the 2nd of February, say I wouldn't pick 1, I'd say 2. So the day is indexed from 1, the month is indexed from 0, and the year is indexed from 1900. Right? This is just clearly stupid. And so people have invented all sorts of different classes to deal with dates because the Java one is so bad. And eventually, Gregorian calendar is one of them that's stuck. There is also local date, which works fine. So you can make a local date that's also a reasonable class instead of a crazy one like date. But yeah, the problem with the obvious named date class is that because Java is backward compatible, they can't fix the really bad decision they made when they came up with the date class. So yeah, that's kind of silly. Okay, so this was a sort of introduction to the Android alternative, and there was a similar one to Android Studio. Regardless of which one you're using, please watch the other one as well. Both of these also functioned as a sort of primer on event-driven programming because you could set some events and then decide what you're doing with them. And for the rest of the labs, I mean, you can choose to use either the Android alternative or Android Studio, and it'll be fine. Um, so, nothing to worry about. And yeah, even for your assignment, you could use the Android alternative or Android. Android is better, so use that unless, like I say, unless it's too slow for you to deal with. Um, yeah, I do have a logic puzzle, but I'll just post it in text on Moodle instead of here because I don't have slides. So I'm looking forward to hearing your solutions for the logic puzzle, which is a very interesting one. Um, okay, I think that's everything. Thank you for listening.